This is a continuous improvement movement reserved for the few with the grit to prove it. Everybody claim, but the click exclusive. Many pursue, but it's too elusive.
Hey everybody, this is Calvin Williams with Improver. I'm the founder and CEO of the company and Improver University, where you can earn your Lean Six Sigma certification from the white belt, yellow belt, green belt, black belt, and master black belt levels. We offer a great program that entire enterprises can get everybody certified at the level that's appropriate for their role within the company. And today we're here to talk with the highly esteemed Ruth Archer about her experience in the Impruver Accelerator. The Accelerator is a program that fast tracks people to their green belt certification. So even if you're starting from zero, you can join the accelerator and get the white belt, yellow belt, and green belt level training and complete your project work in as little as 6 weeks. So Ruth, you just completed the program. Why don't we start with a brief introduction of you, and then we'll jump into some questions from there.
Hi. So I'm Ruth Archer, and I'm the Director of Continuous Improvement at Michigan Technological University. So I help faculty, staff, and students make their processes more efficient and effective.
Okay, I like it. Straight to the point. So you work in the CI world already, right? I mean, you do CI projects or train people, or what's the capacity of your role?
So I do a lot of workshops and training, but also I help people. I do coaching, consultation, and facilitation. So I don't do my own projects so much, but help other people, help talk other people through their projects.
Good, good. Some coaching, some training, and all that, all
Mhm.
those fun things. Okay, that's an awesome way to go. I like that. So, all right, so let's jump into some questions here. What made you, I mean, given that you already have a pretty good experience in continuous improvement, what made you decide to pursue your green belt certification with Improver?
Well, I was pretty much self-taught as I moved up in my learning of continuous improvement, which I find is pretty common for people that have grown into CI. There's stuff out there. If you work it, you can pick up a few pieces here and there. But when you do that, you end up with gaps, right?
Mm,
And sometimes there's things you don't even know that you don't know. And so I wanted the credential, right? I saying that when asked, people say, well, how did you learn about Lean Six Sigma? And you say, I'm self-taught. That just sounds a little shady, right? And so I wanted to be able to say that I had a certification, and I started
yeah,
looking around, and Improver just looked different than other programs I was looking at. So I decided to explore it further. And I guess the right on the Improver homepage, it talks about culture, right? Right away, talking about culture, and not just like you'll learn all these nifty methods and tools, but there's just that cultural component that is really important to me. So,
absolutely. It's everybody every day. You talk about certification. It's like I was just imagining going to a doctor's office and the surgeon walks in, right? And you're like, hey, what are your credentials? And the surgeon's like, well, I'm self-taught.
but practiced a lot.
I practice a lot. I got a lot of bodies. I would not feel comfortable going forward with the surgery, hearing that. So, but you're right. I mean, I think at the heart of continuous improvement in general is just scientific thinking, being willing to try things, try to improve things, take initiative, and those kind of things. I think that's the heart, the core of it. But certainly the certification rounds you out and shows you what good looks like and shows you some things that otherwise you just wouldn't have the opportunity to see, right?
And I could tell you that at a university, credentials are maybe more important than they would be in other places. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
getting your degree, like that's what we're all about, is credentialing people. And so that
Mm,
flows through into individuals as well. So
that's
I
awesome.
just professionally having the credentials just makes me more credible with the people that I work with every day.
Absolutely. And you know, credentials are I'm a big fan of credentialing too. Credentials don't mean that you're a rock star, but if I had to choose between two, all things equal, I'd certainly rather have someone that's credentialed, right? That
Yeah,
um,
like I mentioned that you can, if you're not credentialed, there can be gaps that you don't even know you have,
absolutely,
right?
for sure.
In your knowledge. And so yeah.
So good, so good. Okay, so next question. What were some of the most important things you learned during the Greenbelt program and the accelerator?
Oh, I so during the Greenbelt program, I really experienced myself the power of learning together because
Mm,
in this accelerator, you brought us together as a cohort, and we did once a week. We spent an hour learning together, and that just was amazingly meaningful to me. And I learned a lot, not only having to gather my thoughts together and present how I was, like my reactions to the material, the online material, my status of my project, getting coached through that, um, but also hearing other people do those things as well. And there was a lot I would have missed, I think, without that cohort aspect.
yeah, I do think there's power in community. And the cohort sort of creates a little, a small community of people learning together. Because, I'll give you a little hack, right? And I suspect that you may go on to the coaching program, and I'll give you a little coaching hack that I've learned to use is when you're about to start a cohort, you may have 3 to 5 people in your cohort. When you're starting a session, you really want to take the person who is doing it the best, doing the process the best. Maybe they're not getting the best result, but they're doing the process the best, right?
Sure.
Because you want to right away set the tone for the others of this is what good looks like, so everyone else can learn and see what they should be doing too, right? And and that's the power of community, right? You get to see, people doing it better perhaps than you are, and you get to see people doing it worse perhaps than you are. You kind of see, oh, okay, this is what we're looking for. Let me adjust or let me adapt. And I think in your case, you may have been uh, one of the people doing it better. So, but at least you got to see.
Sometimes you can be doing something right and not even know that you're doing it right. And
Correct.
so just watching other people go through it and then just loved having a coach, right? Like,
Mm,
and not we're just wasn't just peer learning, but having a coach help us stay on track and supporting us when we kind of got stuck or reminding us to stick with the process, all of these things that the coach did, but also if the coach very gently provided an adjustment to what somebody was saying, they it was like, oh yeah, I can see that now, and it might
yeah,
not have been something I would have picked up on just going through it myself.
absolutely. And I think that coaching part is powerful. And what tends to happen,
Definitely, definitely.
absolutely. So what tends to happen is most people say, "Hey, I'm doing my green belt. I got a project to do." The failure rate on that is something like 70% or more because the absence of a coach. The
Mhm.
coach keeps the party going, and the coach
Yes.
clarifies expectations, and the coach helps you clear hurdles that sometimes you may not feel comfortable asking, like, am I supposed to know this? Am I going to get, discredited if I ask this question, right? You kind of, there's a little bit of friction, but with the coach there, the success rate is north of 92%. And
I
actually,
believe it.
yeah,
uh, Maria was wonderful as my coach, and she really just even from the start helped me to define my goal in
yeah,
such a way that I could increment toward it, right?
right.
Like having talking about your goal in a certain way helps you set you up from success right from the very start. So,
Absolutely, right? That's huge, right? And that's a
mhm.
lot of people struggle with that in ways ways you wouldn't believe. So, all right, zoom back on that whole thought, right? In my opinion, in my view, this is the place where most companies struggle with continuous improvement in general, is the lack of coaching, right? And I'm happy to hear that that's the work you're doing and you're providing that coaching. You alone probably isn't enough though, depending on the size of your organization, right? So there may be a scalability challenge, but in a lot of companies, the expectation of CI is either placed on an individual, and maybe the next evolution of that is, all right, everybody's job is CI, but very rarely do you see the company adopt a coaching culture on top of that that ensures that CI is truly being driven throughout the company. And that's,
Yes. And that's you weave culture in and out of everything that you present. So I love that about the program because
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
without the culture, it's just never going to get any energy around continuous improvement.
Yeah, everybody wants to talk, operational excellence, but not everybody can get to excellence. And not everybody has the commitment level and the focus and the discipline to get to excellence. But, if you truly want to, then these are the kind of things you got to do. So, okay, how was the program different from what you expected coming in?
So there was the expected online content and Greenbelt project. The And by the way, the online materials were interesting. They were well organized, and there was a downloadable guide. That was really, I that was like a nice touch.
See,
Um,
you might be giving away the secret sauce over there, Ruth.
well, my coach Maria, she really helped me to sort out my problem, and like, as I mentioned, she helped me come up with a well-defined goal. But then
Great.
we met as a cohort, and that's I think when the magic really happened for me.
Mm,
We reviewed that online material together. It brought out like key points that I might have missed otherwise. And then we one at a time, we went over our current status on our project, and we were using your framework for talking about our projects. And Maria would remind us to stay with the structure that was being provided because we were still
mm,
learners and not get ahead of ourselves, and just encouraging us, both you and her, to experiment and learn and then base our next action on what we learned instead of trying to
mm,
like line up, these are the 5 experiments I'm going to do. But like no, that it's like we have to learn. We have to pause and learn from an experiment. And so we can't really predict what our next experiment's going to be. And so
mm.
just that um, getting coached inside a cohort was wonderful.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. This is like, when you're a teacher or a coach, and you know how this feels, is when you are like trying to get a point through, an idea through, and then you hear it back from the student. I think that's a very very fulfilling experience. So
You deserve it. You designed something really awesome here.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And you did an excellent job too, coming in and executing the process the way you did. I think maybe you had a bit of an advantage having a CI background, but I mean
Probably.
we sometimes we find that CI people are sometimes the most difficult because they have to unlearn bad behaviors so that they can
Yes.
relearn good behaviors. So
Oh, so yeah, I mean that's something that I know when I'm trying to encourage people to like they've come up with a new process they want to try, and then everybody complains that it's slower and it doesn't work, and it's that unlearning the old way and relearning the new way slows you down at first,
it's true.
but then you can speed up later, right? With
As
the
you can
new
speed up
process.
later.
But it,
Yeah, and
but
it's
but have to kind of call out that unlearning part, don't you?
right, right. You do, right? And you got to kind of get them kind of have some humility to say, hey, you know a lot. Nobody's taking that away from you, but let's take a step back and learn something new, right? And
Right.
you have a new tool in your toolbox. But yeah, I mean, with this stuff, it's learning sort of the core of CI, and then once you've got a strong, solid core, and you've got a true commitment to continuous improvement, then you can plug in the tools as appropriate to the situation, right? The next hurdle for you to clear. So, um, All right. Well, good stuff. On a personal level, I guess on a professional level as well, what difference has earning your Lean Six Sigma certification made for you as a professional and potentially as a on a personal level too?
So in my personal life, it's just a goal that I've had for many years. And so
Mm,
being able to achieve that goal was personally satisfying to me. Professionally, well, as I mentioned, I work at a university and credentials are important here. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's our bread and butter is credentials. I think the certification helps the people that I work with to know that they can trust me and it builds their confidence. And it validates my expertise. So
Yeah.
that's like
Good.
a win in many directions. And also, I feel like ke- it really like lifted my knowledge level, my expertise up a level. And I feel like I'm more at the leading edge of the field now. It's easy
Hmm.
when you're the like the expert on the field to kind of get want to say lazy, but just not put as much, you putting energy into other things that you're doing and not so much into pushing yourself and your knowledge forward. And so taking this opportunity really helped me feel like I'm like at the edge again where I like to be.
Yeah, sharpening the blade a little bit. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's important too. I guess you always were able to do the job. Now you've got the suit, right? So
Hmm. Hmm.
you've got the packaging to come with the ability, right? I tell my kids all the time. I say, hey, uh, people will people will assume that you can do the job if you wear the uniform, right? So
Yes.
when you show up with the credentials, you're wearing the uniform, right? Along with the skills to do the job too. So
Hmm.
all right, that's fantastic, Ruth. I think you got a great story, very inspiring. You know, we built this on our side, but people like you make it great.
Oh,
I think it's
thanks.
we built it to be as good as we can do it. But people like you who come in and say, "Hey, I want to join this, and I want to do this, and I want to achieve goals." I think you achieved some really impressive goals too, with completing certification, distribution, and all that stuff as part of your own university's program. So, um, fantastic job. I think you got a great success story, and I just wanted to capture it here. And as you go on as a coach, hopefully this will be a great tool for you to say, "Hey, I've been through the process. I understand how it works. I know what you're thinking, what you're going through, and you can be successful too, right? Your
Yes,
story can be an
that's so,
inspiration of,
so important to be able to feel all the feels that somebody who's trying to make a change goes through. So,
yeah, right. It makes a big difference when you've been through it, right?
mhm.
So, all right, well, good, Ruth. I didn't have any further questions. You got any questions for me?
No, I thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of your program.
Oh, it's been the pleasure's all mine. So thank you so much, and I'll let Maria know as well. So, on that note, if you have interest in joining the next cohort of the Improver Accelerator, which will fast track you to your Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, check us out at improver.com, IMPRUVER.com, and then follow the links to the university and you can enroll in the program. Or if you just Google Improver University, you'll find the university and that'll shortcut you to the program. So, this is free for Green Belt. And then there's a path to earning your black belt and master black belt. We sponsor the whole thing. It's kind of a pay it forward type of community. So the black belts are earning certification, but they're coaching the green belts, which makes it free for both sides. So it's a great tool. Our intent is that you love the program so much you want to bring it into your company, and then we can take the next steps from there. So other than that, thank you so much, and we look forward to doing more with you. And Ruth, will be in touch.
Thanks, Calvin.
Take care.
Bye.
A queen that could really get down for show. Connected in Colombia and Mexico. Accelerated past you, check the scope. Just in time, not a second slow. From the top flow to the shop flow, come on. Everybody, let's go. Turn it up.